Hello, bestie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Technical difficulties, always fun.
All the difficulties, and I thought I was cool and hip, but
Well,
what do I know?
you are super cool and hip, but technical difficulties affect everyone from time to time.
Technology put me in my place today. So you're a really cool indie author, and I'm super excited to ask you about your debut novel. It came out September 2nd, and let's get into it. Uh,
Awesome. I'm
the,
excited.
the first question I have for you is about the challenges that you experienced as an indie author. What would you say was the biggest thing that you had to overcome as opposed to going the traditional route?
I think it was learning about everything I needed to know outside of writing the book.
Mhm.
So, and that was not a small, hill to climb just to figure out how to write a book, and figure out who I need to help kind of create that village, because it takes a village to write a book and publish a book and market a book, promote it. And so, that part was a challenge. But when I found my editor, and I think I talked to you about it, I found her on Readsy. She's amazing. I could not have done this without her. But once we got through the, hey, this is, how to write a book, this is how to edit the book, this is how to, develop your plot and your characters and character arc and all that kind of stuff. She's lived both lives. So she's published many books under two different pen names herself. So she doesn't just edit. And she was traditionally published. And then about 10 years ago, she decided that she wanted control over her finished product. She wanted control over how, covers, how they were marketed. And you don't always have that traditionally. And when I started talking to her, I said, well, I think I want to be traditionally published. And she's like, hey, yeah, I mean, I'm here for you. But I think you could, publish this as an indie author. And I said, the thing I'm really, really worried about is marketing, promoting my book. And I said, I don't think I can do that. And she's like, I can help you. And so she's been like a fairy godmother to help me. But she's not the only fairy godmother I've had. I kind of feel like the universe said I needed to do this and cleared a path for me. And one of the things the universe sent me was you. And I had,
Oh, stop.
maybe a couple hundred followers when I started creating, my Instagram profile. And I, was building a website and, doing all these things at the time that I was trying to finish the book and edit it. And I'm like, hey, I've got to find my people. I've got to find my community. I've got to find readers who might be interested in reading this story. And so I made best efforts, and this little dynamo of a hype woman found me somehow, and was the start of a very successful joint venture here so far.
And wonderful friendship. I feel so
Yes.
blessed. Do you want to give a quick shout out to your editor?
Yeah, Nancy Smay at Evident Inc. for any indie authors that write romance, any subgenre of romance, or she also writes thrillers. So she has a ton of experience, but also she has in her portfolio some of the premier romance authors in the industry, like Sierra Simone and Nadia Lee and Megan Quinn and Laurel and Page. And so she's tight with them. And so, that was one of the things that I thought, the universe led me to her. And I thought, if I'm going to produce a very professional book that hopefully people will like, I had to get the best of the best. And luckily she worked with me. So it was awesome.
Yay! Well, I'm so glad you found her, and I'm so glad we found each other.
Yeah.
If you could offer a piece of advice to your fellow indie authors, one, the best one, what would it be?
Believe in yourself. Um, I think that anyone who's trying something new, and you really, as an author, are putting yourself out there, and you're putting yourself out there and potentially subject to criticism. Not everybody's going to like your book. Not even everybody's going to like your story. You have to have a thick skin, but keep at it, and it, you'll find your audience. I mean, I'm still looking for my audience. I have found there are some people that really, really like my book, and I'm so grateful about that. And there's also some folks, it's not really for them. And so as an author, really trying to figure out, who those people are is hard. And when you do that, you subject yourself potentially to criticism, and it's painful and it hurts.
Mm-hmm. I can
But
imagine.
you got to push past that. You got to keep going, and you got to believe in yourself and believe in your story, because there are days that are very tough. So, but there are days that are also fantastic. So it's been great.
You gotta keep focusing on the good, focus on
Mm-hmm.
on the positives, let the positives outweigh the negative, and
Yeah,
just
and every time you have a reader that connects with your story, like it kind of washes away the criticism, or that wasn't really for me. That hurts for a while until you get that. Like yesterday, I had a reader reach out. She's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! It's so good. I can't say enough good things about it," and that makes it all worth it.
it's like a salve, a little band-aid to
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah, a
all the
little
hiccups that
painkiller.
can happen along the way. Um, what would you say was something that went exceptionally well throughout the process?
Um,
Like
you
your
know,
biggest win?
a lot of things went really well, but I found finding time to write and finding motivation to write super easy for me. Like it was a joyous process for me, and so that probably was a thing that I was a little bit leery of. Am I going to be able to like find time to do this, and am I going to enjoy the process? And oh my gosh, like absolutely loved the process. Like every moment I spent writing was a joyful and fulfilling experience. And so, I think the universe was saying, yeah, you're supposed to be doing this.
Okay, okay. Um, what would you say was a misconception that you've been facing with marketing your book? You mentioned marketing was one of the big things that you had to tackle. What's if you had to debunk one thing or two, what would you say it would be?
Well, one, I thought it was going to be really, really difficult to find traction and find followers. And, I'm not trying to find followers for the sake of finding followers. It's
Mhm.
not about raising your follower count. It's about attracting people who are interested in the story, and who want to talk to you as an author and are interested in kind of the process, and can appreciate what you do. And then hopefully their followers can say, oh, hey, I want to read that book. So I really thought it was going to be very, very difficult. And I won't sugarcoat it. It has been hard, but I'm pretty proud of the work that you and I have done together, really, for the most part, because I went from a couple hundred followers in July, and we're up past 4,000 now.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. I don't have any like magic. This is what I did. I, sprinkled fairy dust and the followers came. I mean, I do think it is about creating good content, but connecting with people and being interested in other people. I think that's probably the biggest thing is, and you could break it down into things like liking and commenting and reposting and stuff like that, but it's truly about being interested and engaging in real meaningful conversations with the people who follow you and that you follow, and that's really what it's all about. And so I actually surprised myself that we are where we are right now. um, you know could I have more if I had started earlier? Probably. But I didn't. But I'm pretty proud of where we're at and where we're going. So
I agree. So for those that are just joining us, we're talking about A Memory Not Mine, and this is Rebecca Byron. We are gonna do a little dive now into her book. If you had to describe your book tropes wise, what would you say are
mhm.
the top three?
So there's some forced proximity.
Mm-hmm.
We have a male main character who's a little grumpy at the beginning, but he turns into a cinnamon roll. And the readers have absolutely like loved that, and loved him. Like he's been across the board 100% like thumbs up about the Baird Camel, the main male character. Um, and there's a level of this love story that's kind of epic, and they would, would fall into the fated mates kind of category, I think. So those are probably the top three
I
that
would agree.
I
I
would
would
say.
agree.
There's others, but yeah.
Okay, so Fated Mates, Cinnamon Roll, Grumpy FMC,
Hmm.
and then Epic Romance, Epic.
Well,
Uh,
there's a forced proximity, and
yeah,
that kind
and
of
Forced Proximity.
does move the story forward. So
Okay.
there's a section of time or a time span that they are
Mhm.
close. I don't think she realizes it's forced proximity. She's just enjoying it. But he he knows this proximity is forced because he's the brooding protector type, and if you want to assign that trope to this too, that's also there for those fans.
So if you had to like give a little snippet, a little teaser. So Memory Not Mine. There's a vampire. There's two
Hmm.
vampires. There's three vampires.
There may be several, yes.
There's a lot of sexy spice in there. If you had to give it a spice level, how many peppers are we giving it?
So for me, I would say we're probably close to 4 out of 5 to me. But one of the things that's been most surprising to me as an author is that everybody's spice scale is all over the place.
Yes.
I mean, it is. Like I've had people read and go, "Oh yeah, no, that was good. It was pretty spicy. It's kind of vanilla, but it was good spice."
Hmm.
Like 3, and I was like, oh, that's a little lower than I thought. And there are people who've said, oh my god, like get your children out of the house, lock the bedroom door,
Put on
six out of
headphones.
6 out of 5. So
We have the archive duo just said LMFAO. She absolutely doesn't realize it's forced
she
proximity.
doesn't. She's like, this is awesome.
That's great.
That's a whole new kind of trope, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole new spin on that trope.
Do you want to tell us a little of like how the storyline happens? Like how do they meet? How do they?
Yeah. So the story's about Mira Garvey. She's a Boston-based jewelry designer, and she's clairvoyant. So she has this cool, or maybe not cool ability. She's not too sure she digs this ability, but she can touch objects. And when
It's
those
cool.
objects, what?
I think it's cool. I want to be like, hello.
I don't know. You might not like it, but so she's a little bit dubious about this ability. Um, but she can touch certain objects, and she can get a sense of see the people who own those objects, and when those objects have a strong emotional connection, she also feels the emotions that the people felt when they had them. And so her family was in the estate jewelry business, so she got to come in contact with a lot of precious jewelry items, that jewelry, you give it to someone you love generally. And so she came into contact with a lot of these things. But like I said, she's always been like, I don't know about this. It's, kind of a cursed party trick. It's a little unreliable. She didn't think it had done anything great for her. Her dad explained that she came from a long line of clairvoyance on his side of the family. He's originally, his people were from Scotland. And her parents have recently died in a car accident. So she's going through their things, all of their belongings, and she comes across a small portrait miniature of a woman named Agnes Garvey. Looks just like her. So she knows right off the bat, this is some distant relative from my dad's side of the family. And when she touches that object, she has the most intense vision that she's ever had. Um, and in all of her previous, visions, she's kind of been maybe a casual observer of what's going on. But in this situation, she actually was like living the experience of Agnes Garvey. And in the first vision, there's a man there, and she feels this love. There's intense attraction. She never really sees his face, but like she feels him. And it's the most amazing feeling she's ever felt. She doesn't have a great track record of, romantic relationships. So she's actually very envious of whatever it was this woman experienced. But then after that, she starts having very, very dark nightmares too. And there's a different kind of malicious entity that shows up in these nightmares. But in these nightmares also, she's living Agnes's life. So she's absolutely kind of obsessed with this. And she has an opportunity for work to go to Scotland. So she decides she's going to do a couple things while she's there. She's going to connect with some relatives on her dad's side of the family to talk about this clairvoyance. She doesn't have dad to talk about anymore. So she figures that's the best way to approach it. And also she finds this art historian because she wants to learn more about who painted this portrait. So she goes to Edinburgh, Scotland. First thing she does is meet with the art historian, and he tells her a really interesting story that he's pretty sure he can attribute the painter of this painting of Agnes. Don't have a name for him, but he's seen several that this artist has painted. But the most probably interesting thing is he's seen 5 or 6 different examples, but they span 300 years. So he's unwilling to put that in writing because his reputation as an art historian, I mean, obviously one person could not have painted all those.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't think it was, people trying to emulate the style of this painter. So that's a big mystery. He does look up a little bit of information about Agnes and finds where she's buried. He thinks it's probably her because she died the same year that the painting was painted. So gives Mira some information on where to go look for this grave. She goes up and she talks to her Garvey relatives, and they can tell she's like not cool with being clairvoyant, and they are totally cool with it. Like they own it. So they're like, hey girl, we got you. We understand. We can tell you're not really digging this. But we think you need to lean into this because it can be a superpower. So she kind of thinks maybe, I don't know if I can believe them or really embrace it the way they have. But, she thinks that's kind of cool. And then she goes to the grave where Agnes is buried and collapses, has a super intense vision, very, very powerful, and wakes up on the couch in a little stone cottage. She saw it when she was going down to the graveyard, and there's a man there, and he's staring at her intensely, kind of grumpy. He has a big dog's kind of in the background. She realizes that she's fainted, and he saw it and went down there and carried her back. He introduces himself, she introduces herself, and that's kind of the meet cute for Baird and
then it
Mira.
all.
And their story goes from there. Yeah,
Oh
if I
my gosh.
tell a whole lot more, we could be getting into spoiler territory, and I don't want to do that.
No.
But it's intense. Their relationship is intense.
That I can definitely say as someone who read it, I'd say that's definitely a good point to stop.
Yeah.
Because that's when it all starts getting fun. The relatives I thought were super cute, especially like the grandma. I mean, just the relative whole thing was really cute. It kept giving me like Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes, like just the 2 aunts and then like
Yeah,
their
no, yeah,
quirkiness.
they're super fun. They
Yeah.
also are making an appearance in the next book, so you'll get more Granny Margaret and Morag and Evie. So
Oh, wait, this is news to me. Yay. Oh,
yeah,
that's good. Okay, thank you for that. Oh, that's awesome. So obviously there's some paranormal aspects in the book. What cultivated your love for the paranormal?
I've always had a love for ghosts and witches and vampires. Obviously, read a vampire romance. If you've read my author bio, I may or may not be clairvoyant. I cannot touch objects and see the past, so I'll just put that out there. But I do sometimes have visions, messages from the universe. And so I strongly believe that there is stuff out there that we can't explain. And the things we can't explain really make the world more interesting. It is magic to me in some way. It may be explained at some point in the future by science, but until that, I prefer to lean into, the mystery of it. And that's what makes it cool.
Oh, that's so cool. I like thinking about having like I think of them like superpowers. That's so cool. But then so what are so Mira the main female character, so she likes jewelry. Do you
She
like
does.
jewelry? Are there little Easter eggs? So who would you say you related to the most? Did you sneak in little like your personal little quirks
Well,
into it?
for anybody that doesn't know this about me, I'm also a little bit of a hobby jeweler. Not probably as skilled as Mira is, but there is definitely some fictional wish fulfillment for me, with some of the things that she got to create or the class that she got to take when she was there in Edinburgh.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I also make jewelry too.
Okay. Okay. Um, so let's see. What character was the funnest to develop, would you say?
Well, I mean, I thought they were all fun, but one of them that I really enjoy, and I still like go back and I enjoy reading is Ravi.
Hmm.
And Ravi's so there's another trope in here. There's a little bit of a found family element, um, without giving too much away. Ravi's like a father figure to Baird, and so he's fun. He's kind of gruff. He owns a pub on the Isle of Arran, but yeah, he's fun, and he makes an appearance in book 2, and so we get to spend more time learning a little bit about Ravi. And
I was
Ravi's, of course,
hoping so, because he was so cool, but like I wanted more. I was like, so what's gonna
yeah.
happen? And then with the big thing that happened almost, I want to say like two-thirds into it, like what was he gonna think? Like how is that gonna play in? Um, but yeah, I'm so excited.
But like you
Without
mentioned, you liked the Garvey characters, um, Granny Margaret, who is a character. I My grandmother was not clairvoyant, but a lot of my grandmother, is in Granny Margaret, so she's also super fun.
good. Oh, we just had someone say they added a memory not mine to their list because she's clairsentient and she has prophetic dreaming.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I want superpowers too. So then, without giving too much away, how is that going to play into book 2? Like, is it going to keep being around the same storyline, or where are we going?
No, there's definitely some of the same storyline, but I don't want to give too much away. But Mira's going to find out her, um, abilities maybe stretch past the clairvoyance, and that also comes from the Garvey line, and so that's where there's more Granny Margaret involved, because Mira wants to, hey, you talk to me. There's
So
more here.
Mira's
You
going to
didn't
come
you
into
didn't
her
get to know
own.
me when I was there last time. I know you know more, and she does.
Mira's going to come into her own. She's going to flex her muscles. She's going to be like, yes, I'm going to own it. She's going to be strong, and then we're going to have this whole quick, cool adventure, and
Yep.
she's going to be. I'm like projecting. I'm like, she's going to be our new badass.
Well, so there's a so book 2 is dual timelines. So we have another vampire, and so it's partly her origin story, and so we have a couple bad bitches coming in book 2,
I'm
and
so here for it.
they're very different, and there's some parallels in their stories and how they maybe reacted differently, but ultimately those differences, how their characters developed as a result. So I'm excited. Book 2 is super. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So
I'm so excited. I need to know where this was going because, like, I went through a roller coaster with my emotions. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and then it exploded, and then it like wound down, and then it was like, "Oh my gosh, girl, get up, get up, get up!" And then she went back, and then I'm trying to like be careful to not like spoil it, and then I
well,
was like,
but
"Oh, thank goodness."
the fact that she went on a roller coaster ride of emotions, and not all of them were positive, makes me happy, because that was my intention, that the reader was going to feel. And sometimes the things that we have to feel, at least for a little while, aren't fun. But I
Mm-mm.
feel like I connected,
Yeah,
with my readers in that way.
it made it feel more real. Like it didn't feel so fantastical with her like going through these emotions, going through these life things, super real things that can happen. Um,
Well, I think a lot, and I read a lot of fantasy and romantasy, so I am not like side eyeing that at all. But when you look at those female main characters, they're often like super spunky, and like nothing stops them.
Mhm.
And what you don't often see is their internal struggles. And
Mhm.
but you do see that with Mara, because I wanted to make her relatable, and maybe some of you would relate to her in a way and go, I don't know. But hopefully at the end you go, okay, like I see where her character went. I'm here for it. And I want to know what happens next. And ultimately, that's hopefully what I intend, that you get interested and want to know what happens next.
The archive duo said, "I'm here for Mira turning into a bad bee." Oh my gosh. Well, I'm super excited. I feel like this is the perfect time frame of the year for it to have come out, with it being a little bit of paranormal, definitely a big romance, and then segueing into spooky season, Edinburgh, all the colors, like just the details that you put into it. I was just like, yes, like in my mind, I was ready. Candles, wine, a blanket, cozy. And I'm super excited for everyone to read this, and I hope that they loved it as
Yeah,
much as
I
I
hope
do.
everybody will give it a shot. It's available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. So if you've got that, you can read it for free. So I hope you go add it to your TBR.
And Barnes& and Noble!
Yes, you can order it on Barnes and Noble. That was kind of a surprise, but byproduct of being listed on Ingram Spark. So
Super, super, super exciting. Well, I thank you so much for being here with me today, and thank you for everyone that joined in and who asked questions, gave us little enthusiasm. I'm so glad. Thank you.
all right, bye everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye.
Hello, bestie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Technical difficulties, always fun.
All the difficulties, and I thought I was cool and hip, but
Well,
what do I know?
you are super cool and hip, but technical difficulties affect everyone from time to time.
Technology put me in my place today. But so you're a really cool indie author, and I'm super excited to ask you about your debut novel. It came out September 2nd, and let's get into it.
Awesome. I'm
The,
excited.
the first question I have for you is about the challenges that you experienced as an indie author. What would you say was the biggest thing that you had to overcome as opposed to going the traditional route?
I think it was learning about everything I needed to know outside of writing the